Hello there! We've been waiting for you!
Hello?
Hello, Judge. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
The friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Minute to Skim It. How are you guys doing? As always, we're here to give you some very not spoilery, and there's a lot of stuff to spoil this week, reviews of the comic books that are coming out this week. Couldn't read everything. Don't be ridiculous. But we read all the really cool stuff. As a matter of fact, Shanice and I both picked similar stuff. But also, Kyle's going to pop on and give a review for a book he really wanted to read this week. So I'm really happy you guys are here. Please do give us some likes, some shares, and some, I think, thumbs up. I don't know, whatever. Ring the bell. There's like a million things. Wherever you're watching from, if you're watching us here, if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube Experience or anywhere else, we're super thankful that you are here.
Thank you for the boop.
There's booping. I didn't even have any of my toe beans out. That is booping only for toe beans. Can you imagine? I mean, like, I think that's why Jeff the Shark is so popular, because of toe beans. But can you imagine if people had toe beans? Terrifying. Oh, no. All right, let's review some awesome books. Okay, I'm going to be real about this. This is my review this week. You know what doesn't work is if you review a book that is like polybagged. Did you know that the Fartpecular Silent but Deadly book is out this week from the wonderful Harley Quinn? Of course, a gorgeous blonde is going to have a book about stinky toots. I believe it has smell-o-vision. Fair warning, that's probably why it's polybagged. I cannot verify whether the smell-o-vision is for bean farts, although there's beans in this picture. There's so many, I know, oh good Lord, yes. I'm not really certain what kind of toots might be pleasurable toots, but, and I don't know who thought this up. Like, who did this? It's an April Fool's book. It says artificial rub and smell farts. So maybe it's more than one different kind. Several people had to say yes to this. Do you know what's so funny about it? Is that people are going to buy this book because reasons. It's actually a fun gift, right? If you have a friend that you're like, hey, I knew that you wanted to try out comic books and you didn't know what kind of comic book to try, but you should try this one. Especially this one with like, it actually has an active like stream fart on the cover. I mean, she's in a cute outfit, but come on. And like everybody that's in the scene is like dying. This comic reeks, it says. And to have the pleasure of smelling the farts, you have to pay $7.99. So at least for the polybag one. Is it a different price for the regular one?
I think that's
It's $7.99 to smell Harley Quinn stinky farts. I hope fart doesn't get us kicked off the internet because we said fart a lot.
Have like a fart counter.
That's right. Fart. Next. No, it's me again. All right. Okay. So there's been this big long storyline called X Manhunt. It's been going through all of the X books. This book is actually really kind of cool because, as you know, the whole storyline is about Professor X and whether he's like a really bad guy because of what seemed to have happened at the very end of the Krakoa era, where he looked like he like completely blew up a whole ship of like regular people. But in this book, you kind of find out that there's some stuff going on that we didn't know about. So despite the fact that it looks like he's a really bad guy and has made all these horrible decisions regarding the future of mankind and mutant kind together, it really is kind of like brings all that storyline together. It does do a good job also of like, there's been these like different groups of X people that have been kind of like formed over the last, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months. So it kind of lays those out for you so you know who's with who. This does have like a definite end with a definite big event. So just like all really cool X like big story arcs, this is totally worth getting. Even honestly, if you didn't get any of the rest of the parts to this that were part of the like X-Men, X-Factor, whatever, you can read just this one. It has enough in it, and it's like a double thick book that you can you'll get all the stuff that you need to know for moving forward, because otherwise you might be confused about what happens in the X books going forward regarding many of these characters. And also, whether you love or hate Cyclops, he's a big part in this storytelling. And whether you love or hate him, you will both like and hate this book.
Oh, yay. Now it's mine. So Peacemaker presents the Vigilante and Eagerly double feature. So I want to read this one because I needed my Peacemaker fix until season 2 comes back, which should be this year, I think.
Soon, right?
Yeah, soon.
Has it been more than a year since his show's been out? I feel like it's been like 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years. If someone in the comments wants to verify that, I really appreciate it. But yeah, this is a really fun issue. It's really cool to see this version of Vigilante from the show doing his thing, getting into hijinks. And like the show, it's a very, very violent comic, but it's also very funny. The second story, focusing on Eagly and Peacemaker, it's also great, but it's also very toned down, which is pretty interesting because you're used to the just the sheer chaos in part 1, and then part 2 is just like, this is calm for these characters. Very interesting part 1. I'm looking forward to the second issue, and I'm really looking forward to season 2 when that comes out because I need my Peacemaker.
Okay, so Vigilante, I don't really know that character. Is it something from the show? Like if you watch the show, you understand that guy?
Yeah, he's in the show. He's in the comics too, but like the characterization from the show, from my understanding, is different from the OG Vigilante. Okay. So again, if someone can verify that
old school character, like really old school, right?
Yeah, from the 80s.
Okay, yeah. Now I recognize him. I thought he looked like a new guy. He looks kind of like one of those jump skiers. Like they have the skis are up in their face when they're jumping. That's that outfit.
I would be down for that casting because Drama, he plays like a good, funny, chaotic, something's off of that character. Pretty dude.
I love Steve Vendetta's comment. The empty poly bag can be used to Dutch oven your closest friend. A shout out to the fart book from before. Fart again. Okay. Actually, someone called the store today looking for Ultimate Wolverine #3, and I assured them that it was not out yet. So I kind of feel like this one, and there was something else that someone called about today. I'm like, slow your roll. Wednesday. Although, just be aware that there are a great many shops that are having a pre-release or an early release for the Batman Hush book. They're allowed to start selling it at 608 for reasons, because number 608 is the issue that the first Hush started in. So just know, check your local comic shop to make sure that whether they're doing it or not. We're certainly fine with selling them at 608. Like, it's past 608 here now, so if someone came and bugged us, I guess I could hand them out. But yeah, just know. So anyway, Ultimate Wolverine's got some buzz, obviously. So for you guys that don't know, I think Ultimate Wolverine wasn't really part of the slated books that were part of the Ultimate Universe, but the story goes that, I can't remember, someone in comic books said that Ultimate Wolverine needed to happen. So I got it signed and it was done. And it was really good that they did. So just as kind of a way to help you understand who Ultimate Wolverine is, because the Ultimate Universe, of course, doesn't run the same way as anything else in the main universe. Although I suspect, just like Miles eventually became part of our main universe, some of this stuff might too. So the Wolverine that's part of this universe is more closely aligned with maybe the character of the Winter Soldier. Matter of fact, he's called the Winter Soldier in this. So he was taken and programmed by the Rasputins, and I'm trying to think whoever Omega Red's real name is. And in the last issue, there was a big shenanigans that happened featuring Gambit. I'm trying to remember who else was part of that crew that messed everything up. So they're still trying to do that, and it introduces more characters that haven't been introduced in the Ultimate Universe yet for this issue. So I'll give you a spoiler for one of them. It's one that makes a lot of sense, the Widow. So this is a bunch of brutality. Like, I'm really honestly surprised that this line specifically isn't like a Red Band book series, because there's so much dismemberment, etc. But I guess if Absolute Wonder Woman can get away with that kind of stuff in hers and not be Red Band, then I just think it's cool when they're Red Bands. It gives you an idea of what you're getting into, right? This is a very brutal version. Like, he's always brutal, but and then this one kind of ends up with someone interacting with him that is trying to figure out why Logan doesn't remember them. So that's kind of cool. Sets its own rules. That's right. On fire. Yeah, Chris is, there's so many good books, y'all, right now. If you haven't been to a comic shop in a long time and or been trying it out, these books, I mean, if you're not doing Ultimate or from Marvel or Absolute from DC or the EU universe from Image or the other big universe that Image is running right now, all the stuff from Ghost Machine, you're just missing the very best stuff. I've been in the industry for 30 years and I haven't ever had this much good stuff running all at the same time. Blows my mind.
Definitely agree with Barlord, Green Arrow. If you're not reading it right now, definitely pick that book up. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
It's not one that really is usually on people's radar for must reads, but yeah, there's so much good stuff right now. Oh, and a follow-up, Ultimate Spider-Man. This is kind of an interesting excursus, because last when we saw them, Pete had left town and his son got a hold of his spider suit tech that Stark had sent him, and had kind of taken his place for a little bit. When last we saw these guys, one of their main friends, Harry Osborn, was killed. Surprise. If you hadn't read the last issue, I'm sorry, but you need to know that. And it's so funny because they've got Mysterio stuff on the front of this cover, and there's no Mysterio anything in this issue. It's like it's a lie, a darn lie. But anyway, so they've kind of like Pete and MJ and their daughter have all moved out and kind of to like the desert. You guys know these communities where it's just full of people that are like trailer people. They're like they enjoy living off the grid, and it's so cool because they have an interaction with one of the people in one of the other trailers who obviously is bringing them coffee every day for friendship, and he makes a description about what row of trailers is what. Like, these guys are UFO fanatics, and these people over here are just people that are like anti-government, and these people are like here are just like whatever. It's just so funny because I bet you anything the people that did this book did research for what kind of people want to live off the grid. What are they doing out in the middle of the desert for long periods of time? If you've never watched the movie Nomadland, it's really eye-opening for people that actually live that nomad lifestyle. It's really, really cool. Yes, I'm seeing your comments over here. Sorry, guys. I'm double broadcasting, so if you're asking me questions, I super apologize. I gotta look at 2 screens. Robert, ask your question again. This one, you get to meet a new character we haven't seen. Somebody that's part of the regular normal Spider-Man universe that is normally considered kind of a bad guy, good guy, bad guy. And the way that they come into the storyline is very, very interesting. And it's kind of funny because it's almost like Pete and MJ are like going, well, we're seeing off the grid. We know from our like calls back into the city with like super secret, like talking back and forth with J. Jonah, and that whole thing, the news agency that they've got going on that is Uncle Ben and J. Jonah, is all kinds of crazy right now. Wait till you guys read what happens in this. Like, there's someone that really, 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 really wasn't liking what they were putting in the paper regarding, I think, a guy named Ben Reilly. Wait till you find out what has occurred. What has the Kingpin done? It's pretty brutal. So I'm sorry. The reason we're doing it is because StreamYard right now isn't really being supported by Facebook, and we want our Facebook people to be able to watch us. So I am dual broadcasting. So welcome to everybody. Ooh.
Did you read this one too?
No.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Never had a time.
So Godzilla versus Fantastic Four. This is a really fun one shot. One of my favorite things in comics, I love when like characters will just kind of like call out like their moves. Like so like Invisible Woman, I'm just gonna like hit him with my invisible beam. Like it's great. And it was a really fun issue. It also had a pretty, I should say, like super dark tone, but like it was definitely one of those like it is getting real. Like New York is getting like destroyed, and Fantastic Four like they're on the ropes. And I don't want to, like how you're saying earlier, like it's very easy to spoil what happens in these issues because a lot of big books came out this week. But yeah, this issue was a lot of fun. If you're reading Ryan North's Fantastic Four, you already know you are in for like a quality book, and he just continues a trend. And it's just so fun. I wanted to say something that happens in this book, but
can you sideswipe it without giving the entire like spoiler?
I can't.
No, you can't even sideswipe it, man.
So this is like a week. There's a lot of big books, but there's a moment in here that will have, I genuinely do think we'll have Godzilla fans hyped and just like brain exploding.
You know how spoiled we are because we've got Godzilla Fantastic Four. There's a Godzilla Spider-Man coming. Godzilla Avengers.
Godzilla Hulk. Godzilla X-Men.
Yeah. And that's just from Marvel. There's like 3 titles, I think, that we're getting from IDW, I think. Mm-hmm. Just unreasonably giant amount of really cool Godzilla. So
Godzilla fans are eating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's 2 cool pool books that I read this week. So if you like first appearances of Deadpool characters, you're gonna love this book. There's some of them on the cover there, including Frogpool. I don't think he's been around yet. Catpool might have been introduced before. He's also on that cover. Kidpool's in this, but we've already seen Kidpool. But there's like introductions of characters. I'm going to spoil one for you. There's a new pool called Swimming Pool, whose literal power is that he has a swimming pool. Oh my gosh. Okay. So how to explain this? So Deadpool gets contacted by a member of what is called the Illuminati band. That's going to be a hard thing to say. They ask him, can you help us? Someone has kidnapped our leader, who is Brainpool. This is a spoiler, yes. But it's, yes, we need Carpool. We need Carpool. I'm sure that's in the next one. So there's it's ridiculous, just like usual, but there's a big twist in it. And it's got really good witty banter, like always. And it says that it's related to April Fool's Day, but there wasn't any like fooled you except for the twist that happens. It's part of the storyline, so I don't know. It's not an April Fool on you because you guys are comic book readers and you're pretty smart. You would probably know what's up. But yes, consider this if you're an extreme lover of Pool, or if you have never read Pool, it's probably fine too. Okay, so this is part of the One World Under Doom. So just to play catch up, everybody that's been watching the shows knows this part, but I'm going to try to make it quick. It's just important to know. So Doom has shown up and basically said, I am taking over the world. It is under, I think the name is like New Latveria, which makes sense. And he is doing something awesome. So basically, he's told everybody free healthcare, everyone has access to the very best of education. And in the last issue of, it was the Doomsday issue 2, he basically says that also there are no borders anymore. So you can move about the whole world as much as you want. The only thing that he says is if I will either destroy everybody or you have to say yes. And you have access to all these things. You just have to acknowledge that you're part of New Latveria. And that's it. So it's kind of a little bit like it was for Krakoa at the beginning when everything was awesome and we'll provide you with medicines to prevent cancers or to cure cancers and, those kinds of things. But it's interesting to see the progression of all the characters that are being affected by this, that they don't 100% trust motivations for Doom, but also they're having a hard time getting people to not be cool with it because they are getting access to all these things. And in this case, all of these guys, which were really all the original members of Tiger Division, plus they've got some other characters that show up from other groups. I'm trying to remember what groups they're from originally. But so this is just kind of like the gathering of this team and them kind of wrapping their mind around this new, for lack of a better way to call it, new world order of Doom. So still don't know 100% what Doom is. If he's up to something, is he up to something? Does he have to be up to something? Maybe he just wants everyone to be his subjects and thinks he knows what he's doing better than anybody else. So we'll see.
So,
Ready?
Bitterroot, the next movement. So at this one, you definitely do need to read the original series. So I wouldn't recommend this one as a jumping in point for new readers. But it's still a very enjoyable issue. I love the character designs in this book. I love the uniforms that they wear. You can see on the front cover, very retro futuristic. Basically, they go down to Mississippi. There's a site of an incident that was where the perpetrator obviously like wasn't human. So they need to figure out what's going on because they thought this was all dealt with decades ago. They thought that the situation was, finished. But obviously that's not the case here. But yeah, this was again very fantastic first issue. Very good start to the next series. Very curious about something that is revealed in this issue and how that's going to come into play in the next issue or throughout the rest of the series. But yeah, definitely check this out if you're a fan of the first series, and if you've never read Bitterroot, definitely read this book. It's so great. It's so fun. I think you've read it too, right?
So it's been a long time since I've read Bitterroot. I know that it got announced as being in development, so I'm super excited for it. But what's the basic storyline?
It's about the family. They're like the monster hunters.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah. I love how everyone's still naming different Deadpool characters.
Deadpool and the pool.
Pool. We have cesspool, pool hall. You guys keep it going. What are some more versions of pool? Because here's our next pool book. No funny names in here. This is Deadpool versus Wolverine. Slash 'em up. So this issue is a single shot, as far as I can tell. It puts them at odds with each other, mostly because Deadpool has been hired to go and get this. It's not a technology. I think it's like some kind of like a liquid, something to that actually will cure things. Actually, no, I think they put it in like a visor kind of deal. It's supposed to like renew maybe memory or something. So he's supposed to get it as a merc. Wolverine is trying to get it because of guilt he has, because of an interaction he had with, I believe, a young man who he ended up having to abandon. So he wants to get it for this guy. Then Wolverine also assumes that Deadpool wants to use it for himself, despite the fact Deadpool keeps saying over and over again, like, I have to, once I take a job, I have to complete it. That's his thing, right? He assumes that Wade wants to use it because Wade doesn't have any good memory. Like, he doesn't remember anything from before. So it's kind of a great, like, stabby book. It's if you like the fights that you saw in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, you'll love this. And yeah, it's got a big twist at the end regarding the technology thing that they're both fighting over. It doesn't end up the way you think. Poolhausen. I like Poolhausen.
Is it like a one shot, or is it?
I think it's a one shot because it finishes the storyline. I don't know how they could continue it unless they want to do a bunch of single shots. But there's already a Deadpool versus Wolverine book going on, so take this as an April Fool's Day single shot, which, just like the other April Fool's Day one, isn't actual like, haha, we got you to read a book that's stupid, like about farts. But this one actually is a nice little encapsulated story in that universe. Hey, William. Oh, man. Okay. I would love to give you spoilers about this book, but I'm not 100% certain that I have it locked down for what is going on because of the way the story is told. And I think it's that way on purpose so that you are also left wondering. So as far as I can tell, this is being told from maybe the point of view of a fellow who is a writer who has writer's block. His big hit that he did we'll just say 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, that the book he wrote was about this serial killer that killed a bunch of kids. So it's real, not light reading. And what he's trying to do is to write a book that is, a funny comedy romance something, right? But according to the person that's his editor probably keeps calling him and saying, I need to see some pages, any pages. But the way the book is written is so cool because it has little, almost looks like narration blocks, but you figure out later on that that's kind of what he's typing to try to hope to write a thing. But he describes it always that it starts out going well, but then always something really horrible happens to the characters. So here's my question. By the way the book's written, is what he is writing and then erasing as being nope, I can't because I ended up being all horror-y. Is that actually happening? Is this guy actually a killer? Is he writing about himself? I don't know. So I'm going to have to read issue 2 to figure out if either of those things are true. All right. So it's super awesome.
You want to start?
No, Jim.
Okay. Okay, it's Absolute Martian Manhunter. So this is a book that I've been recommending to people here at the store for weeks since I've read it, and I read it again today. And this is, I think, so far out of all the absolutes, this is my favorite #1 so far. And reading it again a second time, there are little details that you catch that you don't quite get the first time reading it. But yeah, definitely believe the hype on this one. Add to your pull list, read it as soon as you're able to, because this is such a very unique and such a really fun way to reimagine this character.
Is he a Cyclops? So the story I saw today, honestly, is the guy who, I don't know if it was the artist or the writer, got a bunch of clay and messed around with it for a long time. And you actually can see it on his page, the kind of the clay version of this character, or it kind of looks like what's on the front here. We really cannot tell you anything about this book without wrecking everything for you. I will just tell you that the art style is part of the story. So this kind of blown out, super hyper primary color stuff, it starts out with very little of that. And it creeps in more and more and more and more. And it's just, I can't even tell you how rewarding it is. So my tale about how I got to read Absolute Martian Manhunter is that they had a galley copy, which is one of those that's just spiral bound. Sometimes it's not even completed. Oh, thank you for the sparks. Thank you for I got fireworks over on another page. I love it. I was supposed to be paying attention to their presentation because it was a round table in which they were talking to us about all the stuff that was coming out next. But I saw that it actually, usually when you get a galley, it won't have all the words in it. It'll just have not even a colored version of things. So it was the actual finished copy. So I literally sat there and read it cover to cover. When I got done, my gut reaction was just give it all the awards. Just give it all the awards. Unless something else happens this year, it's still a lot of years to happen. This should get those.
And from my understanding, it is going to be a miniseries as of right now. I think they said it's going to be 5 issues long. Mm-hmm. It honestly reads as something you would see at Image or at Mad Cave, but through a DC lens. And I mean that as a genuine compliment. It reads as a indie comic. But without the pretentiousness, I guess. But I think tomorrow when we open, this is going to be the book personally for me. This is my book, but this is my book of the week in a week of genuinely fantastic books that came out.
I would feel okay with handing this to every single person that walked in the front door and told them buy it. And if you don't like it, just bring it back. I would give it 100% money back guarantee. This book.
That's exactly it. Like this whole line from Absolute, the stories that we can talk about. It's like DC is just like, you know what, go at it, have fun, and the results, they've paid off tenfold.
Yeah. It's Hush time. All right. So it would be lovely / useful if you could go find a copy of the books that Batman Hush was in. I'm sure there's a graphic novel that's easy to find out there. And if not, DC has been doing an awesome set of facsimiles for the line that Batman Hush was in, which is number 608 all the way through 612, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a nice big line of them. But I will tell you, this is not for the faint of heart. There is stuff that happens in this book that's very tortury and made me very uncomfortable, which is what it's supposed to be doing. I'm fairly certain. What is your gut reaction?
It's very dark, and I was horrified to realize something in this book actually does exist in the real world. It's like, well, okay, I'm not going to swim again. Oh yeah. Pretty sure if y'all read the previews for this, you know what I'm referring to. But it's excellent follow up to the original series. Like if you've read Hush, which I'm sure if you're a Batman fan, you already know like what the deal is with this story. I like to describe it as like a blockbuster movie featuring Batman, just with a lot more violence, like a lot more. Like Jen said, like it really hits the ground running. It's kind of like how ultimately like a Wolverine. It's like, how did this get a T rating?
Right, exactly.
Like this
is not one to hand your kids and be like, here, try this cute Batman tail. No. Oh, and it has it was a character that was introduced, I believe, in the last issue. I think it's Silence. You get to see a full first appearance in this book, so that's not very spoilery because since they already kind of like shown him a little bit.
The Mummy. So Universal Monsters from Image Comics. If you've been reading them, you know like the quality of these books. They've been really fun reimaginings. And if you are a theme park enthusiast, I'm sure you've seen the Epic Universe, Universal Studios. They have a whole Universal Monsters area, which looks insane. So I want to pick this one up because I am still riding that high of seeing everything from this area. And it's a really solid light horror. Like I'm not sure if the tone is going to be super dark and violent throughout, which I don't mind. I love horror in its tone, like in its various tones, and this is a really good throwback homage. It's like if you're reading the Universal Monster books, I wouldn't miss this one. If this will be a first one, I think you'll have a good time reading it. It's got one of my favorite tropes in it that I don't want to spoil. And I realize I've been saying that for like a lot of books this week, but genuinely, like you want to be surprised, right? You don't want to like have the magic or fun ruined before you get into it. Just when I get two boops.
Boop boop. Man, double booping. Boop boop. Oh, I wonder would that character work? I'm gonna send that idea in. Can you imagine? Yeah. People to the Deddy. Oh my gosh. Oh, Make Two says visited Mile High Comics and sent some. Oh, a friend visited Mile High and sent some amazing pics. Yeah, Mile High is great. They've got a bunch of different sections that will make your head explode. And their stuff's fairly expensive, but it's because they love their stuff so much. You will never find more stuff in one place. I think it's more square footage than any store ever. So do go. I don't know if Chuck's going to be there very often, but he's the guy who owns it. And upstairs, I don't know if you can go up there or not, but upstairs he collects like pottery from the First Peoples, and he probably has more than anyone on the planet. Honestly, it's really incredible. Will says Shanice.
I will. If there's one more thing I do want to squeeze in about the Mummy, which I don't think is spoilery, but I do hope that they kind of lean in a little bit harder about like the artifacts that were taken from Egypt, which I'm hoping they kind of just floor it, like pedal to the metal or what that thing is. It's just, I want to see that theme throughout the rest of the series.
Okay, I know that. I think that Kyle's read this. Have you got to read this one yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this one is pretty dark. I also think this is going to be a really important book that people are going to be wanting to read because I think it's so different than anything that's out there. It's kind of crazy, honestly. But so the book starts out with this little girl playing hide and go seek in the woods. The thing that gets revealed is she's playing hide and go seek with like automatons, so they're like robots, for better lack of whatever they are. And they don't really understand the rules of that game very well. And that's kind of an interesting interaction. But what you find out about this girl is that her dad has like a secret laboratory and is doing who knows what. It's not just him. There's other people that are part of this organization. And she discovers that he has a person chained in one of the rooms and is trying to figure out what the world is my dad up to. And there's another character that gets introduced who imagine, or I don't know what to call him other than like real adult James Bond, because you meet him kind of when he's having a romantic interlude with no clothes. So if you went full frontal dude, you get it. So don't leave this around for the kids or they won't have any questions later on. And there's a really big kind of like, what the heck kind of like reveal on the last page. So yeah, another title. I think they're just trying to, just like manga, trying to make the longest title possible. But although this one is, it doesn't reveal what this title has to do with the book yet, but I know that it will, because I know this creative team will absolutely get us there. It's incredible. I highly recommend it. There you go. We're taking everyone down with us to the nice house by the lake beneath the trees where nobody sees. I would read that book, actually. Okay. I just don't understand how it's possible that you can have this many high quality books that this many issues in still make me crazy and want to read more immediately. Mad props to all of these creative teams. I would fight someone to be able to read, be the first person to read the Absolute Wonder Woman next week too, or next month too. So last issue, you found out, I did not realize that she had multiple lassos, by the way, or strings or whatever they're calling them. So the last issue actually told you what one of them actually does, which, cover your ears if you didn't see it. If she wraps it around herself, it allows her to transform into anything she needs. So this one starts out with her having a full-on discussion with Hades, where Hades is kind of like, you talk a lot of smack and freely with your lips for somebody that should not be. And also he clearly doesn't trust her, as he makes her take off all of her I want to say all of her clothes because she doesn't get naked, but he understands the significance of, like, she has a yellow lasso, a red lasso, and a blue lasso. We don't know what all of them do yet, obviously. And just like that cool part about Batman, that like every single bit of his costume seems to have a purpose and actually does things, was clear that Cersei used everything when creating these things for her. So you get to see the origin of Pegasus. Where did Pegasus come from? It's an undead horse, of course, but you'll find out how that happens. And you also get to see an interaction as she talks to Hades. She is revealing how she got some of these magical objects because she's a witch. She gets to kind of like show off and flex as she describes. It's funny because Hades doesn't necessarily 100% believe her when she says the thing she's doing. So yes, it is definitely a minor key because it gives you origin of Pegasus. It gives you origin of a couple of her magical objects. And yeah, it's definitely a must read. And I can't explain to you how beautiful the art is in this. It's not like this cover. It's like, you know, when you look at like Brooks's fabric, how it looks like real fabric. This is like everything that you see on the page. Like every time they show her in profile with her muscles look real. There's like, you can see the gleam of, you know, the light sweat on, I don't know. Whatever magic the artist is doing in this is just and that. Oh no, Kyle disappeared. Come back, Kyle. Come to us.
Hello, Richard.
My Apple decided that it wanted to do an update.
Well, it's important
Just
to
now.
be updated.
So I had to hit no.
No.
And then come back. Anyway. Exorcism at 1600 pen. Number 4. Y'all, it's finally the end of the book. And you ain't ready for this jelly. There is so much that happens in this book. Like, minor spoilers, the Pope shows up.
What?
Well, because, you know, when you're the president, you're just like, somebody call me the Pope, and the Pope answers the phone? Like, so if you're the president and you believe your daughter is possessed by a demon, who are you going to call? It ain't the Ghostbusters. And boy, oh boy, does this just hit the fan. There is a level of reality in this book that is about a demon taking over part of the White House that I am uncomfortable with at the moment. And there is a level of unreality in this book in that, like, there's a level of all you gotta do is believe, like, that feels a little bit like a Disney princess in this book that I don't love. But Vanessa Del Rey's art throughout this whole series has been flawless. And I don't know who, I think Jordi Belair did the lettering in this book. When you read it, you cannot read it chronologically. You have to read, like, some of the dialogue is happening simultaneously. So you're reading it and you're like, why? None of this is making sense as you're reading the words, but it's because 2 or 3 people are speaking at the same time. You have a demon and a priest and the president, and, all of that, like, all speaking at the same time. And it turns into some real chaos, but it's all drawn together so well by Vanessa Del Rey, the artist, that you can follow it still. Because that's one of the problems I've had in the past with books, right? Is when there's multiple people speaking at the same time, it's how do you read this? You almost need to draw arrows for people. But in this one, the way they break the panels out and the way they break even the fonts change depending on who's speaking. It's really clean and really easy to read. So that is super nice. But no, this is the end of the book. If you haven't read the first 3, now's a good time to jump in because it's the end. or wait for the trade. It's a 4-issue series. It's not a long series. It's not going to be crazy expensive. But it is some of the best horror that I have seen in quite some time. So I wanted to review this book because it was one of the only books we had to review this week. Just because, if I'm still talking about a book on issue 4, it's a pretty special book. And this book really was. Really enjoyed it. Super fun. And that's Exorcism of 1600 Super Pen. And when I say super fun, like, it's fun in that same way, like you watch The Exorcist and laugh. Like,
do you though?
But like some of it is so campy. Like, it's like, I wish I would have believed you all along, Mom. Like that. Some of it's just so camp that it fits with the horror, right? Like, you laugh at some of what's clearly supposed to be serious, but it's so melodramatic, it's not. So, like I said, I really enjoyed this book. It just has the right balance. And again, there's some allegorical stuff that's referential to modern times, but not so strong that it feels political. So, right, exactly. There are some lines in The Exorcist that like are played straight. They are 100% played for the drama, but they're so overacted, or they're so melodramatic, or they're so over the top that they're funny. And that happens in this book in a great way. So I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend this enough. But again, it's a short series. Like, you'll be able to read it in an afternoon. So highly recommend.
Kyle would have read more this week, but you'd think it'd be really easy to get regular PDFs from publishers to be able to read the things every week. But it turns out there's a great many cogs in that wheel that sometimes think something's happening, but it's not.
Well, and for a long time, we got them every week.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is something that's probably a better conversation for another show. There's been so much upheaval.
Yeah.
In the publisher sphere recently that I think some of the things like this are getting put by the wayside. And at the same time, some of the publishers now have access to what I think is probably a better system than sending out 1 million emails. Right. So unfortunately, we don't have access to that system yet. I'm working on it, but I have to provide certain paperwork and documentation that I was not prepared to provide. So we're working on it. But, it's one of those things is that so many people are transitioning to new distribution and to new methodologies that are available at those distribution hubs that they don't have to do things the way they used to anymore. But shout out to Mad Cave. Shout out to IDW. Shout out to Oni Press and a lot of those companies for still sending us the stuff the way they always have, in addition to the new methodologies. That is super cool. And then shout out to Danny Ward from Ghost Machine, who makes sure I always have, PDFs of Ghost Machine before FOC. So it's one of those things that we can we can keep you up to date on those, but it's getting harder on the others.
I don't know if cooking and drinking are wise, unless you're putting some beer in your cooking. That would also be good, make too.
How else do you make chicken?
I don't know. I've never made beer chicken, but I've eaten beer bread.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It also Dr. Pepper.
Miss Jen, should we make our announcement now? Did you make it already?
I did not. You want to do it?
Well, I could tell everyone that if Monday, April 7th at 5 p.m., we will be welcoming our next guest on Talking Shop. I'm sure they'll be talking to either Miss Jen or myself, so it works out all right. We have New York Times bestselling author, the man who wrote Bird Box, which was a cultural phenomenon, Josh Mallerman, will be joining us on Talkin' Shop along with Dirk Manning to talk about his first ever foray into comic books. So be sure to tune in for that. Social media posts start happening tomorrow, as well as announcements on times and dates and things like that. So be on the lookout for that, and we will be talking more about that as the days go on.
Awesome sauce. Just like always, you should be able to still use Comic Book Shop Locator, comicshoplocator.com, to be able to find comic shops near you. It's always fun if you're traveling to go and see what else there is out there for comic shopping. You just need a zip code for where you are, throw it in that bad boy, and it'll show up all of the options that are close to you, or you can use the Googles. Today is an awesome day. Right after this, we should have Wonderland, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show you new comic books, so you can grab up all the copies of the things you saw on the show today that you were wanting to have. Really fun show. Definitely enjoy that show. And then is later today Henri?
Yep.
Yeah. My old brain works occasionally, and he always has crazy stuff, and he is so much fun to just hang out with. Even if you're not interested in buying things, he's just a terrific guy, and you might get to see his sweet puppy dog, or you might get to spit on the wheel of skid bark, which you absolutely should try at least once.
Absolutely.
Anything else, y'all? I think we're done. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Minute to Skim It. We're super thankful to see you. Please, please, please. I see lots of new eyes on the show. We have a lot of fun when you guys interact in the chat. Please keep making pool jokes because it makes me happy. And also fart. I'll see you guys next time on Minute to Skim It. Bye.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.